ever University of Wisconsin System Virtual Career Trek. We're very, very excited that you're here with us today. We have an amazing company that we're featuring today in WinField United, and we'll get to them in just a little bit. Just as a reminder, we are recording this call. And so our goal is to have each recorded career trek on the website for viewing the Monday after the trek by noon. And so by 12 o'clock, we hope to have a recording available for anybody that wasn't able to join us today, or if there's things that you would like to review or listen to again, it will be out there for you next Monday. So again, thank you for attending. I want to take some time and just thank a few people before we get started here today, because we wouldn't be here with this trek if it weren't for them. First is Haley Carr. Haley works at UW Superior and has been instrumental in helping us launch the trek today. She's the technology guru, and so she's been troubleshooting a lot of things lately, but here we are, and so thank you, Haley. We also have a group of committee members, Career Trek committee members from across the state of Wisconsin, and every University of Wisconsin system school is participating in these treks. It's an incredible collaboration effort. We've all come together recognizing that there was a need to continue to connect students with employers, even during the time that we're in the middle of this pandemic. And so, so that's where the University of Wisconsin System Career Treks was born, is out of that need. Also on the call today is Dale Gallenberg. Dale is the Dean of the College of Agriculture, Food, and Environmental Science, or as we like to call it here at UW River Falls, cafes. And I know there are various faculty from cafes on the Zoom today as well. So thank you for being with us. For those of you that just joined us, I will add it again, there is a link in the chat feature, and that is the official registration for your attendance today. I will link that again in the chat feature. If you could fill that out, it'll just take a couple seconds. And so without further ado, we'll get to why we're here today, and that's to connect with WinField United. And so I'm very privileged to introduce my main contact for the trek today, and that is Danielle Savary. And she will be leading the trek for WinField United. We've got an all-star cast that will be sharing with you what they do as a company and how they're feeding the world. And so I will turn it over to Danielle.
Awesome. Well, can everybody hear me okay? I see some nods. Good. Yes. So my name is Danielle Savary, and we are so excited to talk with you all today. We wish, of course, we could do this in person, but so happy that River Falls has the opportunity for us to talk to you virtually and show you a little bit about our facility virtually. So I will just kind of jump right into everything. Again, welcome, like I said, but I want to introduce myself. I am the ag business recruiter for Land O'Lakes. So WinField United is a business unit of Land O'Lakes, which I will talk about in just a little bit, don't you worry. But what my job is to work specifically with our member owners or ag retailers. So for those of you that aren't aware, Land O'Lakes is a cooperative. And on a very simple level, what that means is we have all of these other businesses or cooperatives or business units that make up our business. So I work directly with those, like I said, member owners or ag retailers. And my region is the upper Midwest and Eastern region. So what that means is I have the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and then basically everything east from there. So I'll be kind of running the slides today. You're going to get to talk with our experts, and they'll be much more exciting than me. And next I want to introduce our WinField United recruiter, Jess, who will introduce herself.
Absolutely. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Oh, so fantastic. I've been having audio issues. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. Really quick intro on my end. My name is Jess Jackmick. I am the college recruiter for WinField United. Relatively new to this role, so I've only really been here for a few months, still actively learning about the WinField business. But very excited to enter this fall recruitment season that we have coming up here. So I will be actively recruiting for all of WinField United's internships for 2021, as well as some of our full-time associate positions. And I'll talk a little bit in depth about what some of those opportunities look like in roughly 30 minutes here. So thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Jess. All right, so as promised, I want to talk about our business units before we really dive into the Innovation Center and WinField United. So like I mentioned, Land O'Lakes, there's business units that make up our organization. And the four main business units are WinField United, which we'll talk about a lot today, which is our agronomy side of the business. We also have Purina, which is our animal nutrition side. Now, we own the livestock and lifestyle side of that business. So some people think of Purina as like dog and cat food, and yes, that's true, but Nestle owns that portion of the business. Land O'Lakes does not. So we split that basically into business units. And like I said, so we have the lifestyle and the livestock feed side of it. We also have Land O'Lakes Dairy, which is what most people think of. I always joke when I tell people that I work for Land O'Lakes, people are like, oh, butter. And I'm like, yes, that's what we do, but we're much more than that as well. And then we also have Sustain, which was recently rebranded as Truterra, and that's our environmental side of the business. So really as students, what this means for you is we have multiple different areas of our business that you could pursue a career in. We offer internships and full-time opportunities. So whatever your interest may lie in, we have the opportunity for you. So like I said, quick overview of our business and what we offer and what we do, but I will transition it over to Jen here and we can dive into all the good stuff.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me okay? All right, that's the question, I guess, is everyone's going to start to speak today. Well, welcome. We're thrilled to have so many people on the call today, and we're thrilled to be the first organization to really kick this initiative off. So today our agenda will be, I'm going to spend a little bit of time giving you guys an overview of our Innovation Center. So that's a research facility in River Falls, and we do a lot of partnerships with the University of Wisconsin at River Falls, with our internship program there, as well as the research that we do at the facility. So I have a couple, my presentation is very heavy in videos, so we'll share two very short videos, one that's going to be an overview of the center, one that's going to be an overview of our field facility and research. Those two buildings are about a mile apart in River Falls. Then Nick is going to join us and talk about his wind tunnel work. So Nick was an intern at WinField United at the Innovation Center this past summer. And then he's going to share some of the work that he did over the summer. And then Jessica is going to come back on and talk about some of the opportunities with the WinField United organization as we look forward. And then finally, we're going to close today with a Q&A panel. So I will be on the panel, Nick will be on the panel, who you'll hear from a lot. And then we will also have two of our researchers from the Innovation Center and the field facility. And we'll introduce both of those individuals when we get going, and then open it up to any questions that you guys have. All right. All right, Danielle, you wanna, there we go, perfect. So what is the purpose of our Innovation Center in River Falls? Well, the purpose is to create stronger advocacy across our network, across, Danielle talked about the fact that we're cooperative, across our retail network, our ag retail network, and then translate that into sales. Translate that into sales for WinField United and Land O'Lakes, but also for all of the retailers that are a part of our network. And the work that we do in River Falls at the Innovation Center really is focused and showcasing failing faster. So by showcasing why that matters, the results that are coming out of our Innovation Center it really increases our speed of entry into market for our products and partner products that we work with. So the video here, Danielle's going to hit play here in a second, but the video really showcases what we do in the center. Now, this is a bit of a recruiting video for getting our retailers and growers to come in and do a tour. But I think it works really well in showing you guys what we do at the center.
Can everybody still see my screen? I just want to make sure before I play the video. Perfect.
All right, it's about 1.5 minutes, so we'll hit play and you should be able to hear it.
Asked and answered. Like, what do lasers have to do with real-world spray applications? How can high-tech wind tunnels drive sustainability and profitability? Can real-world applications be created in a lab? Can data really bring better products to market faster? Spoiler alert, yes. How can a fluid dynamics scientist help improve ROI for farmers? Exactly what does it look like when a 1-micron droplet sticks and spreads on a leaf? And does it even matter? Yes, it matters. It all matters. It's called research. It's called testing. It's called failing faster in order to help you succeed faster. Because everything we do here is to help farmers, retailers, and manufacturers leverage the potential of everything they do out there. And we'd love to show you in person so you can see firsthand how we're delivering on the needs of tomorrow's farmers with ingenuity, creativity, and wind tunnels, and lasers. Pay a visit to the forefront of game-changing agronomy, technology, and innovation. The WinField United Innovation Center. Contact your WinField United representative today to schedule your personal tour.
All right, so there was a little bit of a lag on that video as we got going. So I think we'll probably, Danielle and Melissa, we probably could have these videos available for you guys after, but we can move to the next slide, Danielle, as well. And I should have, when I started speaking, introduced myself. So my name is Jen Murdoch, and I am a marketing manager, a marketing lead here at WinField United. And part of my responsibility on the crop protection marketing team is handling the tour experience. So for the retailers and the growers that come through the Innovation Center in River Falls. The center opened in August of 2017. So for those of you who are from the area, you probably saw that building go up. And it's pretty darn impressive right off 35 there. Here we go. So it is home to a staff of chemists, researchers, engineers, and technology specialists. And really, they put products through rigorous testing, both indoors and outdoors. And we'll have Josh and Laura talk about this when they introduce themselves as well. We have many labs in the facility. So we have, and you saw those in the video, we have a controlled environments lab and a greenhouse, which Josh is the manager of. We have chemistry, we have 4 chemistry labs in the building. We have a lab that's dedicated to seed care and plant performance. We have our wind tunnels, and that's what Nick is going to spend some time. That's where he spent his summer and did his research, is on our wind tunnels, which are, one of them in particular is one of a kind in the world. And then we have our field facilities. So the field facility is actually the innovation center that you saw the photo of. The field facility is about a mile from there in River Falls. And Laura, who will also be on our panel, she manages the field facility for us and the research that we do at that field facility. And we have a robust internship program every summer with that. So she'll talk a bit when she introduces herself, and you can ask her some questions on that as well. So speaking of the field facility, if we move to the next slide, that is where we do have, as I mentioned, a robust summer internship program. And this video is about 3 minutes in length. And I'm going to have Danielle hit play on this as well. But this does a nice job of demonstrating the work that we do there as well. And you can kind of see where our internship program fits in there too. So Danielle, we'll keep our fingers crossed that this works as well as it did during our rehearsal yesterday. And you guys can see the field facility.
At WinField United, we develop innovative products that help solve growers' problems, enhance crop protection, and improve yields and profitability. These products must perform in the real world, which is why field research is a critical part of our work. When we're ready to move from the lab to the field, we conduct studies at our research hubs. This allows our teams to test all of our products in a variety of real-world environments and evaluate season-long performance using scientific processes. In the field, our researchers compare products, applications, and formulations by analyzing many factors. Each year, hundreds of new products and formulations go through field tests using strict protocols. The process begins with planning. All good research projects begin with a good plan. Our scientists spend just as much time thinking about the research as they spend out in the field. Preparation, protocol writing, and seed and treatment organization are all done well before the field activities begin. Planting. We plant a variety of both crops and weeds at our research locations to test the efficacy of our products. Mixing. The mixing of product treatments may take place in the lab, the mixing shed, or in the field just prior to application. Spraying. Depending on the protocol, we spray plots at various points throughout the season. We often spray using backpack sprayers, or a commercial sprayer may be used for certain studies, and later season applications can be made using the Skywalker. Tissue sampling and analysis. Throughout the growing season, and according to strict protocols, we carefully sample the plants and test for key nutrients. Using the NutriSolutions 360 app, our researchers can track tissue samples throughout the testing process. This helps us determine the health of the plants and can give us insight into how well our products are working. Data collection. Successful research and product development depends on good data. Our field scientists record many measurements in the field, from emergence and stand counts to disease ratings and efficacy. Harvest. For some products, yield is the best way to measure performance. Our scientists analyze crop yield to determine how effective our products are and when it makes the most sense to use them. Data application. Once our field trials are finished, the data is analyzed and the brightest prospects are identified for further testing and development. And then the whole process starts again, with broader testing across a wider geography. Our field researchers work throughout the year, so our growers have access to the very best products. WinField United, advancing agriculture intelligently.
All right, so that gives you a little bit of a look at the work that we do in the field facility in River Falls. So now I am going to transition it over to Nick. So you saw a little bit about, these are the internship opportunities which Jessica will talk about, and you can see some of that application in the field. But Nick was able to do some work in our wind tunnel lab this summer. And so now he's going to talk to you a little bit about the work that he did and the research that he did this summer.
Thanks, Jen. Can you all hear me? All right. So hi, I'm Nick Hovel. I'm a senior here at River Falls, and I'm majoring in ag engineering with machinery systems emphasis. And this past summer, I worked a lot in the wind tunnel lab, mainly on our second wind tunnel at WinField Spray Tech 2. So if you want to advance to the next slide. So a little bit of background on our wind tunnel lab. A lot of my research was spent on spray drift. So spray drift is any spray that goes off target. Depending on where those off-target sprays land, we can have some pretty catastrophic effects. If we're spraying our herbicide and it drifts into a crop that isn't protected against that herbicide, we can kill off that entire crop. And if we're spraying a pesticide and it drifts into a waterway, we can end up killing a lot of the aquatic life living there. So over the years, we've developed different methods to control that spray drift. We've added covers to the spray booms on our own tractor sprayers, or even adding things to the tank mix. like Interlock, which is a product WinField makes to help reduce that spray drift. But proving that items like Interlock actually work in the field reliably gets a little tricky because of wind. Though there are many contributing factors to spray drift, wind is a primary one. And as we know, out in the field, wind really isn't constant. It's changing its direction and speed all the time, and it makes it hard to get repeatable and reliable data. So that if we go to the next slide, that brings me to my internship goal. My internship focused on trying to make a bridging study between field trials and our new tunnel at the Innovation Center, Spray Tech 2. So there's a couple of benefits to creating this bridging study. The primary one is that we don't have to wait for that short 3-week period where we're all trying to get crops sprayed in the spring. We can test year round, rain or shine, all the time. Another benefit is we can use a lot more precise equipment inside of the wind tunnel lab than we can normally get into the field, such as lasers that can measure the diameter and velocity of a single droplet inside of that spray cloud. And finally, it could give WinField United some more marketing opportunities. You see here on the right, we actually have our Spray Tech 2. We have windows going all the way down the sides, which allow us to set up high-speed imaging cameras, and we could capture sprays exiting nozzles, but now it can be under a field condition. So now on the next slide, the first question I had to ask myself was, how do I have to measure in the field? In the past, we've actually sprayed weed killer in fields and then looked at the biological response, but we can't do that since our tunnel is stainless steel. So we needed a system that was quick and easy to set up, whether we were in the field or in the tunnel. So that brings us to air samplers. They come in a variety of shapes and sizes. Here in the middle is one of them, and on the right is another. But their end goal is the same. They're actually collecting droplets from our spray cloud based on size, and it's collecting them on a known area that we can analyze later. As for the analysis of that, that's where fluorometry comes in. That's a fluorometer on the left side that you're seeing, and it sounds like a really complicated word, but really all we're doing is adding a fluorescent dye to our tank mix when we're spraying, and then the fluorometer emits a very specific wavelength of light and can tell us exactly how much of that dye has been deposited where. Fluorometry was chosen because it's fast, reliable, and very repeatable, and it was much easier than trying to count droplets on a microscope slide. Next slide. However, fluorometry has a couple of drawbacks. The main one is that it's very sensitive, and when I started my internship, Spray Tech 2 had no clean-out procedure, so that meant we could spray once, but we would actually pick up the first spray in repeating measurements as we go down the line, which would skew all of our measurements from there. We also needed to add some ease of use items. A lot of our equipment is mounted on rails, which we're seeing here, and it allows us to roll our equipment up and down the tunnel, which is nearly 40 feet long, by the way, so it's nice to have something to roll. But when we turn on the tunnel, it would actually start pushing these things down the tunnel and they can collide and crash. So I added brakes that we can quickly lock them out with. The biggest one though, challenge that we faced was the clean-out procedure. Our tunnel has false floors in it that weigh about 200 pounds each. These floor sections have to be lifted up so that we can actually clean underneath to the bottom drain pan. And I think I have a time lapse here next of me doing that. So this is our clean out procedure. Hopefully it works. Really what we had to do is add 4 anchor points to the corners, and then we can attach chain hoists to those same rails above. And it allows us to actually mount to the 4 corners of our floor and lift it up, but with only one person. This isn't just used for the floor sections either. We have a lot of heavy instruments that we can move up and down the tunnel, and it makes our life much easier. I think my boss even mentioned we were going to hang hammocks at one point. Moving on from there, now that we have a method of cleaning out our tunnel as well as measuring in the field, we needed a way of actually determining if the measurements we received from our samplers were correct. And that's where our lasers came in. Now we have a laser mounted directly inside of the tunnel of Spray Tech 2. And a lot of my time and energy this summer was spent calibrating and aligning the lasers. The lasers, we can track their calibrations back to principal laws of physics, and that's why they're chosen to be our selected measurement value. So here on the left, you're seeing me maximizing the beam power. The more power that we get out of the laser, the better we can measure. And here in the center is a droplet size calibration where we emitted a very thin stream of droplets of a known size, and then we can measure them and calibrate our laser accordingly. However, this brought up a very key problem with our laser. That small pinprick of blue light that you see in the center is how big our measurement volume is with the lasers. And when we start talking about some of our bigger samplers, like our passive air sampler, which measures 2 feet by 4 feet, we don't get a very good idea of what's going into that sampler. So we needed a way to fix that. So on the next slide, I can show you that we developed a sweep pattern. Our lasers are also mounted on a 2-axis traverse. So if you've ever seen like a 3D printer or something like that, we feed this traverse coordinates and it will actually move to them while measuring. So that's going to allow us to measure across the entire distance of our sampler and take a measurement. And then we can start averaging and figuring out better methods of what's going into the sampler. It's a lot better than a 2 millimeter point instead of over an 8 square foot area. And then finally, on the next slide, we have to compare the results. Doing this could have gotten really tricky as our laser measurement didn't take as long as the measurement that we took with our samplers, but we have to compare them on a 1-to-1 scale. So that's where rate flux comes in. Rate flux, again, it sounds complicated, like a lot with droplets and aerosols, but it's how much of our spray is passing through an area in a given time. Using our rate flux, we can compare our samplers to our laser at a 1-to-1 scale, regardless of time or area that was measured. This also allows us to compare samplers to other samplers, which is really nice, as our passive sampler, which we see here on the right, took about 20 minutes to do a full test, while one of our other samplers took mere seconds, but we can still compare them 1-to-1. The samplers with the closest matching rate fluxes are the ones that we're planning to take to the field to test further. And then finally, on the next slide, the next steps for this project would be to bring the samplers into the field. Unfortunately, due to COVID-19, I kind of messed up a lot of our project plans, like I'm sure it did most of yours as well this summer. But the next steps are to take it into the field and measure in the field, and then record the field conditions where we can recreate those conditions inside of SprayTech 2 and try and get the same measurements. That would bring our bridging study full circle. Next would be to explore some more air samplers. We only looked at a small handful, and there's a lot more out there that could open up new ways of looking at how we see spray drift in the field. I know that you're always going to hear this from every intern. I learned a lot, a ton. The main thing that I learned was calibration and measurement equipment. My boss was very helpful on that, in explaining not only why we're measuring and how to measure, but also how it works. And that was extremely useful when I was trying to set up the lasers, as well as designing and building my own air sampler. I would like to thank WinField one more time for allowing me to actually talk at this career trek. It's been an amazing experience, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. Thanks.
Thank you, Nick. Great presentation. We appreciate it.
I have muted myself. Can everybody hear me okay? Awesome. Well, yes, thank you again, Nick. That was a wonderful project and a wonderful presentation. I love learning about that. So as I mentioned earlier, my name is Jess Jackmick, and I am the college recruiter for WinField United. I want to take the next 5 or so minutes to talk a little bit about the WinField United business, as well as some internship and full-time opportunities that we have available for 2021 and beyond. So if we can advance, perfect. Thank you, Danielle. So to begin with, WinField United is the crop inputs and crop insights arm of the Land O'Lakes business. So in 2019, we had roughly $7 billion of revenue. So we are a relatively large and growing piece of the Land O'Lakes portfolio. So at WinField United, ultimately, we are helping independently owned ag retailers by providing them various tools, products, services, data to ultimately advance agriculture intelligently. So the ultimate goal of the business is to help each and every one of our farmers get the most out of each and every one of their acres to sustain a growing population. So how does that translate into career opportunities? Perfect. So WinField United internships are really truly bucketed into these 5 core areas. So the majority of our internships are sales and agronomy internships, and then we have emerging opportunities in research and technology. Unfortunately, in 2021, we don't have any marketing specific internships available, but those opportunities do ebb and flow, and they may be available in the future. So with that being said, a typical sales intern at WinField United really works to develop best practices in ag sales. You're getting exposure to building relationships with some of our growers and our retailers, and you do get some insights and exposure to our WinField United technology platform and some of those tools associated with that. And you saw some of those tools in the videos that we watched a few minutes ago. Our agronomy interns do a lot of their work out in the field. So you'll spend a lot of time on our answer plots, inspecting crop fields, executing spray trials, that sort of thing. So out in the work with real life agronomists. And when we talk about some of our emerging internship opportunities, some of our research internships can get very specific. But generally speaking, you'll have the opportunity to research seed and crop inputs, work very closely with some of our researchers. It involves gathering gathering a lot of data and presenting some of that data out, ultimately to innovate some of the products that are currently in our portfolio. And where we've seen the most growth is really in our technology internships. This is going to give you direct insight, direct exposure to a lot of the WinField United ag tech tools that are currently in use, but tools that we're also currently developing. So you'll have the ability to collaborate with some of our retail sellers and of course also work with some of our researchers as to how some of those tools are being implemented in the field today. So what are some next steps? Awesome. So by successfully completing some of these internships that I kind of high level talked about, you will have the opportunity to apply to our 2-year rotational WinField United Associate Program. And ultimately, this will help you find long-term full-time career placement within WinField United. So a hallmark feature of the associate program is the requirement to relocate. So this gives you a great opportunity to get up, move somewhere else, meet new people, work on really, really cool projects. So generally speaking, year 1 of the associate program is going to pair you with an ag retailer. You're going to gain a lot of experience out in the field, on farm activity, hands-on. You're going to grow some of those relationships with our ag retailers. Then year 2 gives you a little bit more flexibility. So you have the opportunity to shadow a potential role that you're very interested in, that you could see yourself doing long term. And we offer conventional and unconventional paths within the associate program. So there's really a lot of flexibility and a lot of conversation we can have around your interests moving forward. So the last piece of this, perfect. So how do you stay connected? How do you learn about some of these internships and some of these full-time opportunities, not only for WinField, but for Land O'Lakes as a whole? So I encourage each and every one of you to join our Land O'Lakes talent community. And I've included this little screenshot here. So if you go to our Land O'Lakes career site, under students, you can click on this orange Get Connected button. That'll connect you to our talent community. So essentially, what it'll ask you to do is upload an updated resume, and then you'll have the option to select some of your professional interests to complete your profile. And once you submit that, what you will receive is email updates once internships and full-time opportunities become available that are essentially in line with some of the professional interests that you've selected. So this is a really quick and easy, painless way to stay up to date with some of these opportunities, and it takes some of the work out of it on your end. So hopefully this is something you can consider. I'm here to answer any of those questions moving forward. But that kind of wraps up my little piece. I think at this point in time, we will transition to our Q&A panel.
Sounds good. And you've heard from Nick and myself. I'm now going to ask Laura, and we'll start with Laura, to introduce herself and just talk a little bit about what she does at WinField United and specifically at the Innovation Center. Then we'll have Josh introduce himself, and then we'll open it up for some questions.
All right, well, hi everybody. Laura Henneman. I'm a research manager and managing the field facility. Out here we do actual field trials all day long. So we're spraying weeds, corn, soybeans with various products and evaluating them to see how they work. So the majority of the time is spent outside. I also get to play inside the Innovation Center in the off season, dealing with the seed care lab and the shipping and receiving and that kind of stuff. So that's what I get to do. I get to play farmer all summer long. It's great.
All right, and Josh?
Hi, my name is Josh Skelton, and I've been working with WinField United for about 5 years now. I manage the Controlled Environments Lab at the Innovation Center in River Falls. The main responsibilities I have are organizing, managing, and conducting all the research that goes on in our greenhouse and growth chambers. The research covers all of the different product lines within WinField United and ranges from very, very early in the development phase all the way up to post-commercial launch. So I get to work with a lot of different products, get to do a lot of different research, and get to collaborate with a lot of different research groups and other business units like marketing and sales and agronomists like that.
Thank you, Josh. Now, I know Melissa is going to kind of provide the questions to us on the panel. And if you do have any questions, please add them in the chat, as the microphones won't be, you will not be taken off of mute. And I know that a few have come through already. So Melissa, what kinds of questions are we getting?
We're getting some great questions. So a couple just to begin with, what majors do you hire, and could somebody intern as a freshman?
So Jessica, do you want to handle that one?
Absolutely. So the first piece of that was, what majors do we hire for? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
Perfect. So generally speaking, we really focus on agronomy and agriculture and related fields. So there's really a lot that falls under that bucket. When we hire for some of those marketing internships, we do like students that have marketing backgrounds, but of course that's relatively specific. But generally speaking, it's the agriculture, agronomy, soil sciences, plant sciences, and other related types of fields. And do we hire freshmen was the second piece of that question. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. So we do offer internship opportunities to freshmen. We, of course, won't ever deter you from applying. Generally speaking, we focus more on juniors and seniors, but we have given internship opportunities to sophomores and freshmen in the past. So hopefully that answers both questions.
And if I can add one thing, Jess, because we're a good team. When we talk about freshmen or sophomores, what we typically tell individuals is we hire a lot of freshmen on the member owner and ag retailer side. And we actually use that freshman year internship to then fill our WinField United internships the following year. So if you already have a year under your belt working with one of our member owners, kind of gives you a little leg up as you go into that WinField United program. So just the one piece I wanted to add. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you, Danielle.
Excellent. What kinds of other questions are we getting, Melissa?
One question I think would be great is, let me see here. By going to your career site, can they sign up to be notified of jobs, kind of like a job agent? And then do you accept resumes in general or retain for only specific roles? So you take a resume in and then keep that on file, or should they apply to every individual role?
Sure.
Yeah, Jess, you take that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was talking briefly about that talent community, I think the first part of that question was, are you getting notified of internships and full-time postings? The answer to that is yes, you are. So based on the professional interests profile that you essentially create on our site, you will get notified of new postings that are in line with some of the professional interests that you have selected. Other than that, you are more than welcome to view the jobs that are listed on our career site under that student section. We kind of separated by internship and full-time opportunity for you there. And the second piece around the resume, so typically we do hold on to all of the resumes that we get. If we want to follow process, I do encourage you to actually submit your resume following that job application process. So just to provide everyone with some insight, WinField United for our 2021 internships will have one internship posting that's going to cover all of our detailed internship opportunities. So it'll be one posting to keep it easy for everybody who's interested in an internship position within WinField United. But in that job description, you'll have kind of separate descriptions that outline what a sales internship entails, what an agronomy internship entails, et cetera, but there'll be one posting to make the application process easy for everyone. And that is ultimately how we like to collect some of those resumes outside of the career fairs that we're going to be attending. So hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah, that's great. So this is a question that in career services across the state of Wisconsin have been getting a lot of since March. Are there any remote opportunities available with WinField United?
Fantastic question. Yes. So for 2021, I can confidently say that our sales internships, a large portion of them will be virtual. I don't know specific details as to what some of that virtual work will look like, but I know that we'll have those virtual remote opportunities, at least from a sales perspective. Great question.
So here's, we have a student who works in our Office of International Education and coaches students on the value of international experience. Right now, travel plans are on hold pretty much for all students. However, when students are able and more comfortable traveling internationally and in the future, what value does your organization play on international experiences when hiring interns or new employees?
I might take this team and anybody can add on top of it, but we do value international experience because it makes you a more cultured and well-rounded candidate, right? Because you've seen experiences overseas, here in the United States, locally, not locally. It just gives you a better perspective of what our world's looking at. And Land O'Lakes' slogan and WinField United, it's feeding human progress, and that means the entire world is what we're looking at. We're not just in the United States. We do have, business outside of the States as well. So it is something that we encourage. And I would say, me personally, I also did study abroad experiences in college, and it's experiences you can never replace, and really tells you a lot about yourself, which is an exceptional opportunity. So if anybody else wants to add anything to that, that'll be great. But those are my thoughts and comments.
And as I think about the talent that we have at the Innovation Center, Josh, I might have you touch on this a little bit. We have a wide variety of talent with our team there. As we think about, we have some people who are from River Falls who are researchers and technicians at the facility, but we also have an individual who works with Josh from Brazil. So Josh, do you want to touch a little bit about some of the different backgrounds that we have at the facility?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a wide range of people with professional or educational backgrounds. So like Nick's boss is some engineer, and I don't even understand half what he does half the time. We have a lot of chemists who might have backgrounds in different areas within chemistry, whether that's inorganic chemistry or they've worked in different industries besides agriculture. We now have a molecular biologist who has backgrounds in genetics and some of the areas like that. Seed treatment people, kind of along the lines with Laura's field applied. My background's actually in horticulture and turf management. And then, yeah, my technician, Anderson's from Brazil, and his background is more in entomology and pathology. So just at this one facility, there's a wide range of education and experience that you can kind of interact with and learn from. So it's a really diverse and kind of cool place to be.
Great. Another question we have at River Falls, and there's a few students on the call that maybe are planning to go back to the farm and work on the farm, but then also work in industry. So are there any opportunities where they might be able to find something where they live?
Danielle or Jessica, do you want to cover that one?
Yeah, I can take that. So when I mentioned that I work with all of our member owners and ag retailers, though we have over 900 member owners and ag retailers, right? So that is a lot. That's a big number. You should see my spreadsheet because it is wild. But we do. So we offer opportunities in multiple different areas. It's just going to depend on where you are. So where you're looking to be located, what opportunities we have available within the Land O'Lakes and WinField United family to see what's going to work best for you. Also talk about, possible remote opportunities and things as well. So we just have to be open and transparent about what location you're looking at and have that conversation, because I do that day in and day out with a lot of my, candidates that I'm working with and things as well. So as long as we know what location you're targeting, we can help you in that area.
Absolutely, Danielle. And just to add, specifically from a WinField United perspective, we typically designate our internships by region. So we don't, get super specific, with zip code, with city, with location. So as long as we can kind of get you in the region that you need to be, we have some flexibility within, states and cities in that given region. So hopefully that further answers some of the questions.
There's been a few questions around internships, but when applying for an internship, how can a candidate stand out in the applicant pool?
I think this one, Jessica and Danielle, I'd love to hear your perspective, but I also think it would be interesting, Josh and Laura, to hear you talk a little bit about the candidates that you guys have seen come through as you've been working with them, both at Innovation Center and the field facility.
All right, well, I'll take this one first, Josh. I guess when I have a host of internships available at my location. I usually have 3 to 4 interns that work for me. So I go through a lot of resumes in a hiring season. What stands out to me is somebody that, I want somebody that looks like they're a hard worker and they're motivated. So if you can somehow bring that forward on your resume, somebody that's very active in various different things. I just don't want, straight agriculture. I want a wide variety of information and background, because that not only helps the other interns that'll be in my team, but also myself. Just a wider background of individuals and backgrounds is awesome.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Laura, and I'm about the same way. Somebody asked if they hire freshmen. Actually, the intern I was supposed to have this year was a freshman, but obviously it got canceled. But usually when I'm reviewing resumes, or I do like people who have a kind of varying background, or is when you talk to them on the phone, if they seem kind of go-getters or like motivated. I don't really care if your major is even remotely close to what I'm doing, because in the end, it usually doesn't matter. As long as you're willing to work and be focused and just try to learn and have a good experience, that's usually what I focus on for intern candidates.
Yep, and I just want to touch on something you just said, Josh, about your intern this summer getting canceled. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that was due to COVID. We have a certain number of people who can actually be in the Innovation Center. So Laura and her team still were able to have their interns because they were outside. And I know that, you know, throughout the Land O'Lakes organization, we did have an internship program, as we had people remote and people in different locations. It's just with the Innovation Center, we did have some restrictions this year on the number of people who could be in the building at one time. And Josh, please correct me if I butchered that.
No, yeah, that is correct. There was still, like, for example, Nick obviously was still here. We just had a reduced number of interns this year.
How about a question for Nick? Someone mentioned it was great to hear about your internship experience. What experiences on and off campus do you feel prepared you for the internship? And then what do you think is next for you with your career?
Yeah, so for on-campus preparation, I'll have to say Dr. Schockel, he teaches a machine design course, and every intern I've ever talked to that comes back, they say that course, and I agree with them. It's a super useful course, teaches you how to pretty much how everything's made and why we make things the way we do. As for off campus, I got involved with a lot of clubs. Clubs are definitely helpful. They show that you're willing to take leadership roles as well as work on a team collectively. I thought that was a really big help. And then as for where my career is going next, I'm not sure. I'm just looking to get into the workforce at this point. I really did enjoy my research this summer. I'd like to try and continue somewhere in the ag field.
Excellent.
Thanks, Nick. We're getting close to 3 o'clock right now. I feel like a lot of our questions have been answered. Can you talk a little bit about full-time positions, where they're posted, and how long the hiring process, or what that hiring process looks like?
Sure. So I can touch on just specifically the WinField United Associate Program position, which is directly kind of linked to our internships. So at this point in time, usually we like to offer a lot of those associate positions to individuals who have completed internships, as I briefly touched on in my presentation a few minutes ago. So typically those positions will be available to our interns who have successfully completed their internships, but they will be posted in the same location that we see our internship opportunities posted. So they're typically posted back to back. You'll see a WinField United internship opportunity and a WinField United associate program opportunity. And just to clarify, you do not have to complete a WinField United internship in order to apply for the associate program. It's open to everybody. We prefer that you complete an internship, but it is open to all external applicants who would be interested. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, well, I would say then just on general full-time positions, Jess did a great job of describing the associate program, but other full-time positions within all business units that I kind of mentioned, those will be on our career site. I did put the link to our talent community in the chat box. So check that out. I'll put the link for our career site as well, so you can look at everything. But all internships and all full-time positions, like Jess said, they're posted in the same spot. So try to make that simple for you.
Great. I think we'll stop our Q&A there. Thanks, Jen, Nick, Laura, Josh, Danielle, Jess. This was fabulous to hear from WinField United and folks in the field, no pun intended, but and where you're at. And thanks, a huge thanks to Nick too. It's great to have an intern featured on a trek always. So thanks, WinField. Thanks to the UW students from across the state who joined us today or will be watching this recording later. Thank you for tuning in. The next trek is next Wednesday. We're trying to host these every Wednesday at 2 o'clock. UW Superior is your host next Wednesday, and Halver Logistics is going to be the company that is featured. So that's a company in their area up there in the North Country. And so next Wednesday at 2 o'clock, we hope that you'll join in, and the registration process would be the same as it has been. So we'll keep everything up to date on our UWS Career Treks website. But thanks again to WinField United for joining us and everybody who tuned in, and have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. We'll see ya.